and all kinds of stuff it has triggered in the community right now, man.
Oh my gosh, Gator, before you got on, man, I told SB straight up, I said, I'm always be 100, but I say I will be politically correct in some of these questions and answers. I said, I'm not necessarily worried about the pushback with the female, mixtures,
By the way,
the
we're
Tinder
live.
dicks. You lying.
We're live, bro.
Why you gonna say we lied, man? I'm up here talking. I still don't care. Like I said, if I can't say to my partners, I shouldn't be saying. I'm keeping it. I hold it to a buck. Like there's gonna be some things that's gonna be said tonight that I'm gonna keep it 100, and then there's gonna be some things that's gonna be politically correct. Like I said, I'm not really worried
You gonna
about.
see, it's gonna make it hard to smile in the future.
Hey, 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 listen. It is what it is, but I do respect everybody's opinions. I respect the artistry, and then, like I say, I have my own take on it as well. It's all good, but for the people
Absolutely.
that yeah, for the males that got they once a month type of thing going on, they might
Yeah,
want to exit.
we not into that.
Yeah, they might want to exit, and that's cool.
Yo,
I'm not here
I
for
wanted
them.
to say, real quick, Kicks, step back from your
Talk to
mic
me.
a touch or turn the threshold down just so that you don't
Okay, what
get
about what
muted
about me
out.
right now? Do you hear me?
Oh,
Am I
we hear
mute
you
now?
great. No, you're good.
Okay then. I'm gonna keep it right here then.
Kicks, when you gonna turn your cam on, man? Cause we live.
My camera is on.
Oh, you talking about Gator? You
Gator,
really say Gator?
Oh, okay. All right.
Gator Kicks.
Get it, kick.
Gator kicks. Kick
Hey,
Gator
hey, hey,
kicks.
hey. No
I
Power
seen
Ranger
it.
morphing.
There we
None of
go.
that.
Get your butt in here. There we
There we
go.
go.
Ah.
I was just trying to get a close up on the beautiful face right here, man. I was just,
Gators brought to us
I feel like it was
courtesy
too
of
far away.
Triumph of Bacchus.
Man.
Right.
So let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm
for a
just gonna
reason.
wait a couple of minutes and shoot the breeze while people pile in here. Normally, I would have like a 5-10 minute premiere or whatever. I'm just gonna give some people some time to get in,
Yeah.
but and because I can chop all this later. But yeah, so I'm telling you guys, I've got some heat. And for people piling up in the chat, what's up, everybody? I'm just gonna warn people right now. We're not going to be super interested in going to chat off and on. Like, if there is some negative space to address certain things being put in the chat, we will, and we want to make everybody feel included. But this was going to be like a local recording in-house that I was just like, yo, let's turn the stream on so people in the chat can be like flies on the wall. So this isn't really a community outreach type of stream. This is us shooting the breeze, and if we get to y'all, we get to y'all. But so far, shout outs Doosan, shout outs Percy. We're happy to have y'all in here. Okay, so I'm gonna turn myself down just a hint. Y'all give me a mic check real quick.
Mic check,
Check
1, 2.
Okay, beautiful.
Mic check.
Excellent. Okay, so guys, I'm gonna tell you right now. So I don't mainly want this conversation to be about Justin, and I don't entirely want it to be about his points. Either,
right.
because part of it is about what he said, and a part of it is also the other things I think about based off what he said. So these questions are in no particular order, and at some points they will directly be, here's what Justin said, what do you guys think? And then other questions will be like segue from just in general, blase blah. So I just want to make that explicitly clear. Like, this isn't entirely a reaction video or whatever. We all saw the video, and a lot of people are already talking about it. And to be quite honest, way before he even dropped the video, people have been talking about this. I mean, ever since I did the panel. I mean, you guys, Gator, you were on the panel as well with Charm.
Oh yeah.
This conversation is in an absolute frenzy, and I need some parts in it. And I know you guys do too. And honestly, I respect your guys' viewpoints because I feel like you guys are qualified to talk about this conversation because number one, you guys buy all kinds of fragrances, and you've been buying all kinds of fragrances. So you don't represent a side. You represent fragrance, and you smell fragrance, and you've left no rock unturned. So that allows me to be like, yo, the perspective you would come from would be as unbiased as possible. Or tasteful bias, right? Bias that is well informed. And then I also respect you guys and just how your mind works off camera outside of fragrance. So I think these kind of conversations are really important that you like who you're talking to because it's like sometimes people have objectives with this conversation that are completely like I don't want to say unfruitful, but I'm going to say it unfruitful. So anyway, we're just going to get cracking, man. Justin made a video talking about why he doesn't discuss, basically clone fragrances, clone brands, etc. And he had discussed in the past that, one big contention for it was artistic integrity, but he spent a majority of this video not really making that the point. His main emphasis on this video was a couple of points that I'll bring up in a little bit, but mainly the comparison of how many fragrances a house puts out on an annual basis versus niche houses. And when he looked at the data there, saw that there's some fragrances coming up with hundreds or thousands of fragrances at a time where a designer or niche house might come out with at max 10 a year. And so it seemed that plus some other relevant information kind of implied that there is an emphasis and an interest on cash grabbing over authenticity or even just quality. And it seems manipulative to the public. And in the end of his conclusion video, he also said that he actually thinks it's detrimental to create fragrance in that way, like high volume, And so those were some of the points. And I'm going to walk through some questions here with you guys real quick. I know I forgot earlier. Introduce your guys yourself real quick to the people. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Gator.
You got the kicks?
Oh,
So I got what's going on, everybody? Fragrance family, it's your man Gator, better known as the novice knows out here in these fragrance streets. Chappie Sinclair to my folks. Just wanted to partake in this conversation because man, it's got the fragrance community in a tizzy, as it has for a while now, man. So I'm glad to be here, man.
Excellent.
For sure. You already know. You already know it's your boy Kix Griffey back in the building here with both of my fellas Gator and SB. It is a somewhat of a interesting conversation that we're gonna have tonight. This whole thing has sparked up an interest, so I'm just happy to partake in this conversation, and we're gonna get to it. So happy to be here, and thank everybody for coming through.
Excellent. Now, I'm going to bring some quick disclaimers, and then we're going to get right in. So, number one, I'm not trying to arrive at some sort of black and whiteness to this conversation. I want to observe what's going on, analyze what's being said, and to critically think through some things, and to hear perspectives, and try to just understand what's going on. We're looking for knowledge and understanding. And so we're going to navigate that as a team here. Also, there's no sequence to this. So a lot of times in this conversation, there's so many moving parts to it that it can be so confusing to like get it all at once and figure out like where this conversation is going. So I'm going to try to be as concise as possible with my questions to you guys, because I would like people to have some solid takeaways as opposed to just being like super confused at the end of it. And so I've designed these questions to try and be as narrow as possible. And again, this was just, we were going to talk about this by ourselves, but we thought turn the camera on and give people a window into what we're doing. So anyways, with that being said, so Justin made this video. He was talking about why he doesn't do clone discussion and clone house discussion and all that. And he brought up some valid points, and he also has some responses. Now, it's interesting because with Justin's videos, it's kind of satire. I think that's the right word. So like, you know, he has like the slow stops and the gray screen and the emojis and the sound effects. So there's some comedic and implicate, what is it? He implies some things and is suggestive and whatnot. So, sometimes you might think he's more passionate about something than he is, but he's just trying to make an engaging video and make you think about things. So I never really take anything too close to heart, but Justin for sure has some very distinct thoughts about the fragrance space. So the first thing I wanted to notice was, like, first and foremost, the reason he made the video, right? People wanted to know why he doesn't mention other content. And so he made the video to let them know why. Is it a good thing to be selective about what you review on your channel and what you showcase? Like, as it relates to Justin, like, what would be, like, what is he trying to protect in not discussing fragrances that people would like him to discuss?
I think it's good to be selective, man, and everything.
I told you, Kix. Hey, Kix, I told you, bro. I ain't playing today. SB is no cap. Gator, go ahead. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, look, but no, I think it's good to be selective in everything that you review. Like, as a content creator, you know, even though you're not making the product, you're still putting your name on the review or your thoughts on this particular product. So you're still, by association, you know, associated with the product. So it's kind of like, I feel in a way that if I don't like a fragrance, a lot of times I'll still review it, but I want to be able to come back and stand on my review. And if I'm not selective about the things that I review, then, you know, I'm just kind of floating in the wind, you know? So I think it's good to, you know what you're doing, you know, and actually, you know, take time to study what you're doing in that sense, you know? And so I think, and do what's good for your brand. So, if you feel like, you know, clones are not good for the brand, I get it, you know, but I don't have a problem with being selective. Being selective, everybody should be selective and be intentional in what they're doing in this space, you know?
Kicks. Yo, I know we are gonna be kicking up so much smoke for this conversation. So let's just be the three amigos and bounce through this. Kicks, what do you think, bro? Because I'm about to go in.
I'm saying with being selective, I think categorizing the type of reviews or reactions you do, I think sometimes that also limit yourself, right? I think that you got to be open with a lot of stuff. I don't believe putting yourself in one box and only speaking on this category is necessarily now I'm not speaking on just, I'm just saying with anything genuine. I think that you have to be open to a lot of different categories, and when you're selective on just one space, it can be jaded to the consumer, to the person that's watching you. So it all depends. I agree with Gator on one end, and then on the other, that, hey, look, I'm not going to just speak on just one category of the space, on just niche, and I don't mess with clones. Or I just mess with clones, and I don't mess with niche. No, I speak on everything. Now, being selective on what I like and I don't like, well, then that's a different category. That's a whole different type of story for me. But I feel that you should be open and not necessarily too selective on what you speak about. Be open with everything so it's a broader spectrum and more people can understand, and it seems more genuine to the people that's listening to you. But that's just my thoughts on it.
Okay. And so far, I agree with the perspectives of both of you guys on this. Here's what I'll say. I'm going to give you guys an analogy. What happens when you have kids, right?
Mhm.
And your kids, one thing parents go through is a conversation about the birds and the bees, right? Some parents choose to not have that conversation, or out of fear or timing, never have that conversation with their kids. And yet they go to school with all of this pressure and conversation with that topic. And so whether you choose to acknowledge it as something to discuss or not doesn't take away from the fact that they go to school and are out in the world getting bombarded with the topic. I think in fragrance, in particular, like Justin, whoever, right? The reality is that a large portion of FragCom is trying to navigate this influx of fragrance content, fragrance releases, and then the clone, dupe, and inspiration scene that is starting to explode. And they are looking for people that they respect to have something to say about it. And so from Justin's standpoint, he's choosing not to engage in that because he thinks fundamentally it actually hurts his community, right? And we'll talk about some of his conclusions that he had at the end, where he feels like the mass production and the clonery is actually a detriment to the community. So he feels he's saving his community by not addressing it. But the reality is that whether he chooses to talk about them or not, there's still a majority of his audience that's like, yo, well, if someone I respect isn't willing to talk about it, then I just got to kind of go out there and investigate it for myself and come to my own conclusions. So that's one thing that I think about, is to answer it from my perspective. What your channel is about matters. Like, for instance, if you say this channel is about doing high-end luxury perfume, then let it be what it is. But if you are just generically a fragrance reviewer and your whole MO is going around scouring the earth for perfumery, and your audience wants to know what things smell like and where the quality differences are and all of that, by not having a discussion in the inspiration and clone category, you are cutting off like probably more than 50% of the market right now of conversation. And yeah, I guess that's cool and all, but I don't think you can justify that with one video. Like, I think you actually have to get into the conversation under the hood a little bit to really drive home why you're not doing that, because otherwise you got to remember, and I'll have some facts at the end later in this conversation to like elaborate on, but a majority portion of the fragrance community has less than 3 to 5 bottles. So when you really think about that aspect of it, you are almost immediately boxing yourself to a category of my audience is collectors. And it's like, and that's totally fine too. But if you have north of 100,000 subs, I guarantee you that a big portion of those people do have less than 10 bottles. And so pretty much everything you choose to talk about at that point forward, they will not be ever inquiring about. It'll just be almost like story time with mom at night. And she's talking about, the next fantasy story that that's not a reality for you. So anyway, now on my end of the answering the question, I talk about everything. For me, it's my perspective on my MO on my channel is I am some random guy on a fragrance journey, and this random guy likes fragrance, and I've tried fragrances on every end: clone, dupe, inspiration, designer, niche, independent niche, body spray, deodorant, candles, oils. I've found trash and I've found treasure. So I'm just going to tell you guys what I found that's trash and what I found that's treasure. What I noticed in my journey is I have a huge taste for trying a lot. So that's why I always tell people I'm not a reviewer, but I know I am. It's just my MO is more of the fragrance lover's journey, not really I'm here to review fragrances. And so I try to let the content on my channel reflect that by doing game shows and entertainment and all that, because that's my MO. But I still respond to my audience because I have a category to do that, and I'm okay with that. But I just wanted to ask you guys if you think being selective is okay. And I think that's an icebreaker, guys. Like, the obvious answer to that is like, it's cool to be selective. It's cool to be not. You just better have good reason to. We're all grown men, right? Like, I was just asking.
I'm in agreement.
Some people
cool
really wrestle with that question.
Some people just have bum ass selections, and that's bottom line.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get it cracking now. Okay, so there was an example Justin used, right, with Roja. Okay. And he was breaking down the fact that Roja has been known to clone. He didn't say it explicitly. He tiptoed through some language. He was tap dancing around the language. When he got to clone, he said clone, 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 right? But then when he talked about Roja, he said, now I am aware of the fact that Roja has been known to clone, but by and large, they don't. And one thing I wanted to talk about was at the end of the video, he admitted that like over 90% of his Rojas were given to him directly from Roja. Yeah. So how did you guys feel hearing the tap dance comparison of what Roja did versus how clone houses clone? How do you, because one of the things I asked myself was, it looks like you're admitting that you've only bought 2 or 3 bottles of Roja, and like the rest of your Roja has been handed to you. It's not, how does that impact how these creatives talk about these brands and how hard they are unbiased with them just as much as the clone houses? Because I'm like, well, bro, it's easy to amen certain things when you've got like less than $1,000 in the game on your whole set. You know what I'm saying? Versus, I'm gonna stop. But what did you guys feel about that? How he got most of his Rojas for free, but then he had so much to say about Roja as a brand. But he did not. He skated over. He tried to make it look like Roja doesn't clone a lot.
Yeah, you got this kicks. I started last time. You get.
See, that's why I should have started off at the first one. Shit. Here we go. Look, y'all. Here we go. I mean, that's what I was talking about as far as, I'm not saying what Justin said is any way, wavered or not, but as someone that's looking out, looking in, I would have to question the validity of, is that true? Now, I do know, I say a clone is a clone. I don't give a F if it's from Roja, if it's from any of these houses. A clone is a clone, right? But we can't. Is this what we're doing now? Are we going ahead and making exceptions for certain houses because they're niche or whatnot? So we're going to make excuses for them not being clones. If that's the case, there's a lot of higher niche brands that are making clones, but they're not considered a clone house. Lattafa makes clones, but they have originals as well. So are we looking down upon? Are we picking and choosing? And I'm not saying that he was looking down or speaking down, but the steering. If you guys understand a steering method with realtors, right? They're gonna steer you to a certain place of place to live than the other place, right? In fragrance, is this a form of steering? I don't know. What I will say is this. I can't take it. I can't take everything at the heart. I can't say everything is 100 with that, is because
Yeah.
it was given, it was gifted, right? And I don't know what kind of deal one individual have with another as far as with business and market. But what I can say is that I would have to take it, even if they were to purchase, I would have to take it with a grain of salt. For the simple fact is that if most of them were blessed to you and you didn't come out of pocket with it, would you still come out of pocket if it wasn't blessed? And would your opinion still be the same?
I think he
That's
would.
the true
I think
question.
he would talk about it and come out of pocket with it. But what I was recognizing is just the fact that his tone and language changed when he compared the clonery of Roja. And so when you take the fact that he got a lot of his bottles in for free, impacted how I felt about that when I heard it. Here's the thing, guys. I try to be so black and white with this, and I leave the door way open if any point of this could be disproven. But here's what I think about. Let me make this really easy for you guys. Is it different if 3 out of 10 of my releases are clones versus Gator puts out 6 out of his 10 fragrance releases are clones? Is there any difference between a guy who clones a lot and clones a little?
Yes, because
Really?
you can't. I mean, I'm gonna just speak on it real quick. You can't. How can I say this? If I have more than the other, let's just say, using your analogy, but let's just say I have more niche than clones, I'm somewhat ignorant to clones. It's because I don't have as much clones as you, so I pretty much can't speak on it. Forgive the planes. I can't speak on clones if mostly I'm selective and I'm in this box of niche, right? Vice versa. And I think it's unfair. It's unwise. It's uneducated. It's almost ignorant to speak on something that you're not even truly invested in like that. That's like me only dealing with one house. And let's just say Carolina Herrera, somebody talked to me about Carolina Herrera. Yes, that's a designer, but I'm constantly messing with niche. Am I qualified to speak about Carolina Herrera? Am I qualified to speak about designers? No. It's because I haven't dipped my toe in that pool like that. That's just my thought. You know what I'm saying? That's my honest to God thought. So
But
it would
Kix,
be
as you know, the like dry facts on the table. Like, again, don't think I'm asking you not in totality. I'm asking you in this one example because it'll speak to everything else, I think.
Okay.
You know that Roja has cloned a few of their selections extremely hard, right?
True.
Number one being the fragrance Roja wants to be known by, which is Diaghilev.
Diaghilev.
Diaghilev was, guys, just for context, I just discovered Diaghilev was a clone. Like, I was sitting here, I've been doing vintage, and I've been going hard on vintage in the last month, and I was smelling either Mitsuko or Shamad, one of these fragrances, right? I forget exactly which one it is. I think it's Mitsuko.
Soko, I believe,
and,
yeah.
And I was smelling it, and I didn't even know Roja was had cloned anything in previous, and I've smelled a lot of Roja. I was doing my vintage thing, and I smelled this, and, you know, Diaghilev is such a distinct one-of-one scent profile, I feel, especially the potency of it. You could spot it a mile away. It's like cat piss. You know what I'm saying? In terms of how distinct of a smell it is. And so when I smelled it, I go, what the heck? I know this fragrance. And then I went down the rabbit hole, and it was like, everybody knows about this. I was pissed that SB didn't even know. I'm supposed to be the professor, the scientist. And when I discovered it, it pissed me off because it's like, you want to be known by a DNA you super duper extra califragilistic expialidocious cloned? Like that thing is a super clone. That is clone at its finest. Now, the question again, I want to simplify it. Let's say Roja cloned 3 times and Latafa cloned 6 times. Do you feel more or less value from, like, do you throw them into the same category? You guys clone, we clone, whatever? Or do you still view Roja as more value because he's cloned less? And the reason I'm asking that is because I think the fragrance community now is starting to admit and acknowledge that designers in niche and independent niche and all you little independent guys making oils and sprays and all that stuff, all of y'all clone. So my question is, if you clone a lot versus cloning a little, who's getting are we just going to give passes and move the goalpost, or are we going to, for once and for all, acknowledge that everybody's doing it? Doesn't mean we need to conclude anything about it, but, and the reason I asked that is because in Justin's video, it was like, why did you tiptoe? Why did you, when you had the smoke for the clone houses, you had the sound effects and you had the gray screens and you had the high-pitched chipmunk sequence already. But when you went to touch on the fact that it's known that Roja has done it, whether it's a little or a lot, his voice got normal. The sound effects were less. He spent less than 15 seconds acknowledging it, and then he just went to move on. Why?
Yeah.
Why are we still in a place now, guys, where we are giving leeway or skating over people who clone less than people who blatantly clone? It's like, is there a difference between the prostitute?
Yes.
Yeah, and again, that's what I'm asking, because is there a difference between the prostitute in the street versus the prostitute in the White House? You see what I'm saying? How do you guys feel about that?
It's yes. Go ahead, okay? Go ahead. I'm listening to you, man.
So, man, it doesn't really matter how many times you do it. You know, all of these ancillary facts that was thrown out in that video, doesn't matter how many times you do it. You're still doing it. You're still taking inspiration from another person's work of art. If the work of art argument is going to be the argument that the hill that you're going to die on, then you can't die on that hill, because you just talked about Diaghilev with Roja. That's the fragrance that they're really pushing, right? And if that's the fragrance that they're really pushing, and that one was a clone, then it's like, that where's the artistic integrity? Where's the oh my gosh, you know, I want to make sure of the sanctity of the art and all that kind of stuff. Where's the heat for that? And when I saw that part of the video, that's what really kind of, you know, I love Justin to death. I really do. And I know a lot of stuff that he does is tongue in cheek and all that kind of stuff. But I think at the end of the day, when I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, well, let's say, you know, Mancera, because I think he mentioned Mancera as well. Mancera does take inspiration from a lot of other fragrance DNAs. You know why they do? Because a lot of those fragrance DNAs that they take inspiration from are pretty successful, right? The same way that Roja will take inspiration from stuff that they feel is pretty successful, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to give your public things that they want. You know, there's nothing wrong with being, you know, the Model X after the Model T, right? You know, somebody looked at the Model T and said, you know what? I'm not going, you know, I want to make that better. And they didn't say, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to touch the Model T because, you know, that was Ford's thing and his artistic integrity. You know, I'm going to go ahead and leave that alone. No, it began to evolve. It began to get better. When
what
you
if
take
it doesn't
Roja,
evolve?
Well, see, that's where the that's where the conversation happens.
Point, yeah, that's a different.
Right.
Well, I want to piggyback, because guys, I'm just gonna be the guy who pushes. I'm gonna try to push back at any turn, because I'm not trying to arrive anywhere. I'm trying to observe and listen. So this is a big question, guys. I want you to sit and think about this before you answer. Like, give it a good 10, give it a good incense burn before you say anything. Is the authenticity conversation truly valid? Think about this, guys. Everything we're talking about, creative authenticity, creative integrity, authenticity, do we really know what the heck's going on? Like, I'll give you an example. If a house drops 10 releases this year and a house drops a couple hundred, do we know who made the fragrance, how many hands were involved, whether that year of wait time was 1 year because of creativity's sake, or was it balancing the books, or was it replacing the ingredients, or was it just because they needed to milk the last release? And then also I think about the freaking flankers. Flankers are essentially clones. You're taking an old juice and sprinkling something else in it, or adding and subtracting. So you're cloning yourself. So if you wait a whole year and 2 of the 5 releases is flankers, you're remixing in-house from the same chef. Yep. So I ask myself, because this, and again, I don't have an answer to this, but all of this whining we're doing about creativity and authenticity, do we really know? Can we solely figure that out based off the juice that we get on the other end when we smell it, evaluating this creativity? Why are people so hung up on creative integrity? I get why collectors are, but I just feel like it's a topic we talk about that like 95% of the community truthfully doesn't care about. If most of the world has 3 to 5 bottles, is that even a factor that comes into their mind when they buy a fragrance, or they buy a hat, or they buy a shirt, or they buy some shoes, or they go into that restaurant, or they watch that movie, or they bump that album? I just think that it's a conversation that sounds really interesting, but it's like, it would be a cool conversation if we had facts.
I'm calling bullshit on yard 1. This is some bullshit. And this is why I want to say it's bullshit. Artisanal and all of that bullshit.
Yeah.
What difference does it make? What difference does it make? One thing, SB, I disagree with you on flankers being clones. I feel clones are when you're taking inspiration from another house or somebody else did it, right? If you're improving on something you've done already, I don't consider that a clone. I consider that another step of improvement on something that you've already created, right? That's just my take on it.
But I'm speaking from the perspective of, if I take a whole year to give you a remix of a juice I've already made, when we're talking about creative integrity, the fact that you waited a year to drop it doesn't tell me that was due to creativity. It tells me that's what I'm. So I don't think that if I say clone, it helps other people like scratch their head about it, but I don't care what word you use, remix, original remix, whatever. I'm just saying, when people wait 1 year to do a drop versus like 3 months, how do we know that time was solely established due to creative pursuits?
We don't.
It definitely wasn't, and we don't know. I'm gonna get in trouble now because I just thought about well, I not even just thought about it, but it was something that I was thinking about just now when I brought up that whole Model T thing, and it really kind of ties the whole conversation into this. The Model T wasn't the first car. It's the car that we talk about because it was mass produced. It's the car that we talk about because it was the car that was made affordable. Because they had cars before that. It's just the Model T was the one that got on an assembly line and was able to get into every American's house because it was made cheaper. And it allowed your everyday man to get a car, to see that niche thing that had been driving around the streets Now all of a sudden, here comes the Model T, and I can have a piece of that niche thing that all of these big wigs and everything that we're doing. In essence, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about these clones. And when we're talking about these inspired brands. When these brands get upset, when the niche brands and some of the designers get upset, no, a lot of these clone houses are just making these DNAs that we're seeing these niche snobs walking around with and just commenting on. They're making them more affordable. Right? There were people around that's probably mad at Henry Ford for doing the Model T thing, but guess what? At the end of the day, it made that thing more affordable. The thing that was very desired made it more affordable. There was a part of the video where I was seeing where it's like, okay, well, you gotta kind of just save up your money and go for the art. Bullshit. Why would I sit there and save up my money, and just be like, you know what? I really want that Creed Centaurus, but it's $500 something. Okay, well, you know what? Because of the artistic integrity of the brand Creed, which is selling this to me because they want money, and they're marking this up the amount that they're marking it up because they want money. I'm gonna sit here because if it was just an artistic thing, then okay, I'm gonna just put this in in everybody's hands, and I'm gonna cut it down because I just want you to enjoy my art. That's bullshit. You want to make money off of that particular art. My wife works for she's in the freight forwarding and everything. That's what she does for a living. The LVHM and these places like that, she sees those manifests. Those manifests that come from Creed are about the same that come from Mason Alhambra. There's like a $10 difference between the actual juice that comes in those bottles. And you mean to tell me that I'm going to respect these people's artistic integrity when you just did a 400% markup? Hell no.
That's a huge part of the conversation that I have stocked in the clip is the disparity of value that we're talking about from a dollar standpoint. And I don't want to hit it yet. Gator's teeing up that sermon, and everything he said is absolutely on point. I've always just felt like, hey, that steam was, yo, it's just one of those things where it's like, guys, I find myself doing this too. I've been rapping for almost 30 years. I've been in the music industry. I'm a full-time engineer. I used to be a drawer and a painter. I used to be an educator in the arts, teaching things like art history and all this stuff, right? So I've been involved in dance. So I've found myself wanting to fight for this thing called authenticity. And what I've found is just that it's something I could never keep the same energy with across the board, right? It's like we always pick something that we're like deeply passionate about to like want to have this convo, and it sounds really good, like creative integrity, right? But then we will not carry a tenth of that energy into all of these other art forms because nobody can see us, and it takes a lot of effort to go through every walk of our lifestyle, holding people to some type of, because what you wind up finding is you don't know the level of integrity of about 90% of the things you utilize to live as a human being. And so I've just found that you can't keep up with the conversation of integrity because you don't know any of these people. You don't see these people. You don't, like, all you can do at the end of the day is smell the juice. If we can leave it at the juice, like, that's where we should leave it. And what I've noticed, again, is that I have found trash and treasure on every side of the fence. I'm staring at a 30 fragrance vintage haul, and I have easily about 10 to 15 bangers that you can get today under $20 that were made around 1950 to 1980. I am finding trash and treasure everywhere. To the point where every time I get one conviction about something, it gets bundled up and thrown in the trash because then I find some treasure somewhere where the world said I shouldn't have found it. And so it's just, again, I think the authenticity and creativity conversation is only noble if you have the facts.
Yeah.
And even when you have it, you almost have to have a loose grip with it, because 9 times out of 10, you have a bunch of areas of your life you don't keep the same energy with because it's exhausting. Like at some point you just have to say, I just need to eat today. I just need something to wear and go outside. I just need some good beats in my car. Like, I'm not going to hold everybody. It's not a sword that you can die on very easily. Go ahead, Kicks.
I'm just saying it. This happens everywhere. He made it a hot line. I made it a hot song. Does it make Nas not relevant enough, or does it make Jay-Z as a clone? Right? Let's stop. It sounds like BS to me. I think it's a lot of BS, and it's we're gonna pick and choose. And I think everybody's biased to some sense. That's what I'm gonna say. Everybody's biased to some sense. You know, I love rose, so I'm gonna say this rose fragrance is, oh my God. But knowing me, you're gonna know Kicks is in love with rose, so I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt, right? To somebody that don't. So I'm gonna just say we're all biased in some kind of way, and you gotta have a feel of any individual, even with myself. You gotta take it with a grain of salt. The juice is the juice. Your nose is your nose. And that's that. Anything else is pretty much entertainment wise. You know what I'm saying? And to use it as artisanal or the artistic hogwash talk as far as it being artsy, I think that's just a way of deflecting. Is a way of deflection. But that's all I gotta say about that.
I think Gator. It's a defense mechanism, but Gator, please.
I think so. And I think I'm about to hit the point that you were just thinking about too, SB. So here's the thing, man. SB, you're in the music. Kicks, you're in the music. You know, I was in the music. You know, so let's say you have Pharrell, right? Pharrell's doing, you know, he's in the studio, he's producing some tracks, you know what I'm saying, all that kind of stuff, right? And I'm an artist, I'm a Joe Blow on the side of the street, you know, but I was sitting there and I really want this hot track. I want something that's gonna be hot, that's gonna hit like a Pharrell track. I can't afford Pharrell, right? I can go on SoundCloud, one of those places like that right now, and find beats that are in the style of a Pharrell, but they're just a little bit tad different. They're not exactly the Pharrell beat, but they're just a tad little bit different. I can afford those. I can't afford a Pharrell. Now, does that make me like a bad person? Does that mean that this artist that's making money off of making stuff that sounds like Pharrell stuff, does that mean that he's, you know, vulturing off the name of Pharrell? No, not really. Because he knows that he's going to cater to an audience that can't afford Pharrell to make a beat for them, right? Exactly. I'm going to tell you what's really made them upset. Back in the day when we had the Intuition and the Imitation Man and all that kind of stuff that we found in Dillard's and all those kind of, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, Kicks, and you too, SB, those little imitation clones that used to be in Dillard's for like 10, 15, imposter. That's what they call them, imposter. And you know, you spray it on and smell like Dolce & Gabbana for all of 2 to 3 minutes before it starts smelling. Right? You know, so it's like, okay, well, shoot, I can spray this on and I smell like Dolce & Gabbana for like 5 minutes, and then that's it. So I'm going to tell you what's really making them mad. What's really making them mad ain't the fact that they're being cloned. What's really making folks mad is that now the clones are good.
They're getting good. They're getting good.
Getting better and better and better. So to the where now, as somebody who's a niche snob, now I sit back and I wonder to myself, why am I spending $400 on this fragrance when somebody just made Pierce from French Avenue that smells dang near in the same, like almost identical to Perseus from Perfumes de Marley? Why would I spend $300 something on that one when I can get Pierce?
But it has to be justified.
Subtle differences. And now I'm sitting there like, but right. So I don't want to be named a label whore. I don't want to be named a label snob, you know. So I have to defend this artistic integrity. Now,
I just think it's a collector conversation. Like,
yeah,
like you can't even take a deep breath in to try to sort through that mentally if you only have 3 to 5 bottles, right? Like you see what I'm saying? It's again, it's a conversation. I think that people in FragCom do this thing where they'll bring a topic to light and act like a lot of people care about it when they don't. Like for content's sake, I see a lot of you guys out there. You'll say that something matters and that the world's in a frenzy about this when like statistics prove otherwise. Statistics show that you and maybe 20 or 30 friends of yours online have spoken about this, and it's really not that big of a deal. You wind up just making it a big deal for content's sake, and nobody actually is dealing with that problem in real time at all. They might be able to barbershop talk about it like it's a problem in general, but they hang their coat up when the podcast ends and it doesn't apply to them at all. And so it's just like, again, if the average community has 3 to 5 bottles or even less than 10, there's no way they can navigate this conversation at all. How could you possibly care if you have less than 10 bottles? It just doesn't make sense. And then as a community, our favorite content creators start talking about it, and then we act like it's a big top. You know, when I realized the clone conversation wasn't that big of a deal, niche brands and designer brands, they don't even speak on this. Like, you ever notice people have to interview them and ask them about it. They don't even care. Like, they don't even know that there's a bunch of small communities around, like, having these crazy lofty discussions. It's like when you wind up asking them about it, they don't have much to say about it because they haven't even thought about it. If you make a product and you make a good product and your market isn't affected by it, and I don't even truly think that the market is putting pressure on these brands either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't seen it reflect in a way where now brands are talking about this being a problem. I only really see FragCom discussing it, you know, like not even real consumers, like collectors discussing this issue of mass production. Because every time a perfumer or a house is brought it up to, they're like, oh, like, I mean, we're just better. It's better quality. And then they move on. Like, so I don't know. It just seems like a made up. That's another question I was going to ask you guys. Where's this question? Are we making fake beef?
I think so, because this is, as a wrestling fan, it all seems kayfabe to me. And now, people who don't know what the term kayfabe means is when you actually are very theatric in the beef and in the animosity that you have to someone, right? Back in the day when wrestlers used to travel around, the good guys had to travel together and the bad guys had to travel together. Even if they were best friends backstage, they couldn't be seen together because that would break kayfabe. That would like make it seem like, oh, well, it's not really that big a deal. I think that's what's happening. You know, I think that to a certain extent, the topic keeps coming about because it is a topic that is actually very polarizing within the community. Like you were saying, you got 3, 4, 5 bottles. This doesn't matter to you at all.
I think this is a black on black crime, meaning I think this is a collector on collector beef.
Yes,
right.
That part is
you
true.
have collectors who have a lot of clones. You have collectors who have a lot of designers. You have collectors who have only niche, and then you have hybrids of those that are playing in all the sauce. And each pool is making content, and there's this almost fake beef happening where it feels like you have to speak about why you don't have niche bottles. And really, you should be saying, like, either A, I'm broke, B, I don't care. I have the money and I don't care. C, Niche is a special thing, and I don't get into it, very rarely. I'm very critical of that. You know what I'm saying? It should be a very simple answer, and then you move on and continue reviewing and talking about the things you care about. Or if you're a niche head, the answer should be like, I don't mess with clones because I just think they're cheap. End of story. Or I think the mass production of fragrances is hurting the community, like Justin said. Or, you know what? I feel like the bottles one bottle of niche is better than 10 clones. Like, whether you think it's true or not doesn't matter. Like, these should just be simple things you could say and move on from. But we create these pods about this as if you not only have to say why you don't do, but then you also have to provide evidence about why doing it the other way is actually bad. I don't get that.
My God, look,
Right.
this is some BS. I call bullshit on the second yard. Look, this is some craziness. This is really crazy. The talk is just all the way stupid to me. I'm gonna just keep it a buck. I find it stupid because it's about the juice, right? Is the juice good? Or is it not? Are you walking around with the brand juice? Oh, this is, Balmain, or this is blah blah blah. It's stupid. It's stupid. And this is one thing I want to say about it, and then I'll let it. Why do we gotta, like you said, justify why I don't have this? Like I'm looking for another sausage pause validation. I don't care what nobody think about what I'm wearing. Is it good or is it not? Right. Last but not least, and I'll be done. I'll get off my soapbox. This classism. I'm tired of it. Like, what is it? Well, I got them washed. Well, I only deal with rose. Get the F out of here.
Right.
Do you get laid or you don't get laid? What the F? Let's be real here. I'm just being honest, y'all. I gotta be honest. Like, what are we talking about here? Fragrance water?
Yeah.
Well, this is Dolce & Gabbana. Well, this is Lateef. Oh, I take only Grey Poupon. Shut the F up. I'm tired of it, man. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's a bunch of dudes that probably ain't getting laid. Don't got a wife or girlfriend or nothing. And they're like, well, I paid $500 for this. Who cares? Who cares?
Or they're getting laid, but they feel like they got to tell you they got laid.
And that right there lets me know, just say you got an escort. Be fine with it, but you ain't gonna say you spent the money on that, right? Just say you got an escort. So let's give it a buck, right? Well, I mean, I think this is pretty much stupid talk, people. It's stupid talk.
Here's the reality, Kicks. Here's the reality, guys. If clones are bad, no one will buy them.
Right.
And they won't, or if they get tricked into buying them, they won't buy them for that long for the company to become a company. Same thing with niche brands. If they're putting out boo-boo, they won't survive. I've seen plenty of testimonial about representatives from Creed say that Creed Aventus single-handedly kept the lights on for Creed many years in a row due to bad releases and reformulations and rebottling. Yeah. Everybody will get put on that cross by their work. And so if clones are still a big deal in a few weeks or a few months or a few years, it will be because people like them and people are buying them. The jig will be up if they're not producing something. And then if you want at that point to be on a side of artistic creativity and all that, that's cool. But then always just know there will be another group who could care less. You don't have to love art to smell good or to want to smell good. NBA players don't go to every YMCA and laugh at the 5-on-5 pickup games because a majority of the world can't play basketball, so they just enjoy playing 21. Think of how crazy that is. And they don't view each other as such. They just recognize each other and go about their lives. So it's just a bit odd, guys. I feel like this is a collector fabricated beef on other collectors in the content space.
Yeah.
And in that regard, it is a tiny pinky ring of a conversation that affects almost nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
I see the
the-
emphasis on the pinky, man.
yeah, the rest of
See what you said with the you get it. He ain't slick. He ain't slick. This guy
I
right here
saw-
ain't slick. But continue. But it's over here. He ain't slick. Yeah.
Yeah, look, the rest of the world don't care. It really doesn't, because the world will go on. You know, there's bigger.
I want to talk
fry.
about one more thing, guys, because I got 10 before I got a jet. Otherwise, I'll be sleeping in the doghouse tonight. And I want to start with Gator, and we'll move down the line. So
All right.
I want to talk very briefly about the price of making juice. Okay? Do we ever consider that maybe niche perfumery has always been unjustly inflated and has created too much of a perceived perception of increased value when prices get raised?
I think that we have to really look and reevaluate our definition of niche perfumery, because if I look at somebody like my friend Kelly out there, Kelly and Jones, we can look at Jay Shantae. We can look at these people like that, man, that literally are buying these materials themselves, and they have to pay these markups to bring stuff in. So when they do upcharge, it's not that they're upcharging because, oh, I just want to, inflate the price. They are actually paying for these materials. That's what the niche thing was before. Now I don't even consider Creed niche, quote unquote, because they're a big enough company right now and have made enough money to where that price is no longer justified, right? So I can understand smaller niche companies having a little bit of a marked up price, to try to keep the lights on and to try to grow. But these companies like a Creed, like a Perfumes de Marley, like these other, bigger companies, I don't see the reason that you have to mark it up so high. So to answer your question, I think the smaller companies, I don't think that they were ever really, in a position to where they had a choice whether or not they wanted to kind of have those higher prices. A Day 3 or a company like that is not, having this huge factory where they're producing product, and bringing it in on shipping containers from overseas. Those companies, they have to, and it's funny that a Day 3 can make the type of juice that they make. Michael Paul can sit there and make the beautiful compositions that he makes and literally charge around 150, 155 for that. Zaharoff can charge around 150, 155, somewhere in that range, and all the compositions that they have that are just gorgeous, that are timeless. But then I could get something that is subpar or less than what these compositions are from a quote unquote niche company like a Creed, and I'm paying $600 for a bottle.
I want to take it even further to the gutter. I've been shocked in my vintage hunting how many fragrances were made in 1920, 1930, 1940, 1950, 1960, 70, 80 that are blowing me away right now. Yeah. Where if I smelled it next to a Roja, an Initio, a Byredo, a Bond Number 9, a Tom Ford, I would not know the difference. That is what's been blowing me away. And the fact that a lot of those offerings I can get today for less than $50. Value, there's a lot of factors that affect value that are beyond brand. It could be timing, it could be cost, it could be materials. I mean, there's just, if we really went down the list of what impacts value, and then ultimately it's also opinion. If I want to set the price, I can set the price, and I don't have to justify it at the end of the day. I can tell you in the description a bunch of stuff to try and make it sound prestigious, but at the end of the day, you still have your selective opinion about it, and the market decides whether you are justified in that. And I really would be interested to see sales.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Kicks, please.
Especially with somebody like a Creed, because
go Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
especially
ahead.
somebody like a Creed as far as sales go, because like you were saying, Aventus has been kind of keeping the lights on at Creed for a while. They've been able to kind of survive off of their name, but I wonder what the actual sales numbers are coming back on
I want to
anything
know who's
except
in the
for
red.
Aventus.
I want to know who's in the red. What are they financially backed by? You know, when it comes to designers, you know, there's other things that they profit from outside of fragrance. And, you know, it's like I work a 9 to 5. So the fact that I do content doesn't have to keep the lights on. So I want to know how many companies are in that situation, like Tom Ford and Chanel and all these houses where
Yeah.
because they make socks and shoes and suits, are those items keeping the lights on to make the fragrance brands seem like they're still hanging around because of the quality of the fragrances and sales? Or are they can be around because they just have the money coming in from other ventures? That would be interesting to see. But I think no doubt, all that stuff aside, we have seen utter boo-boo take place at all levels of perfumery, and we've seen some
Yeah.
exquisite stuff. I know I've seen some exquisite stuff at every level so far, and so that's made me raise an eyebrow and just keep a more open mind. And at this point in my journey, I've spent a lot of money for fragrance. I've spent a little money for fragrance, and I don't really see names anymore. I just see juice, and I'm interested in the journey. I realize a lot of people aren't financially in a position to be able to do that, but I don't try to talk with a swagger in my content that suggests that you can have the same level of access and all that. I just put a camera to my life and try to be as helpful to others as I can by talking about things that you don't have to be rich to partake in and all that stuff. So
Exactly,
I'm going to leave it
man.
with Kicks, please.
I'm gonna just say this: there's so many variables that we are not aware of. You know, so
Yeah.
at this point, it's a lot of speculation going on, and then there are things that we are aware of due to public. You know, we know, hey, how much roughly some juice costs for a bottle. We know how much per bottle. If you know business and stuff of that nature, one thing you guys got to understand is that I'm gonna say it this way: IFRA. I won't say it out because I don't know if it'll, snap your channel or whatnot. But they definitely, they definitely have a hand in the price going up and down as well, and we don't think
That's
about
true.
that. You got fragrances that came out in the 20s, 40s, and like you were saying, that can't be made anymore due to the fact
Right.
that, due to regulation, IFRA, this is not, you can't use this note in here anymore. And Michael Paul even said it. There was Midnight Whispers. I feel that's a wonderful fragrance. And because of that, he couldn't use a particular ingredient anymore. And instead of compromising the fragrance, he has enough integrity where he's like, I'm not going to, substitute that note and say this is still Midnight Whispers. It's not Midnight Whispers, you know?
Yeah.
And I respect that. But we can't ignore certain, I don't know if it's entities that's involved that say you can't use this note no more because of health reasons, when really there's nothing wrong with that note because they've been using it for years, but we want you to use a different note. Now it's going to cost you more. You got to pay these new prices. McDonald's back in 98, a Big Mac meal, $3.27. Oh, no, no. That ingredient. You got to use this ingredient. Now you can sell your Big Mac, but it got to be $11. We don't take that into consideration. We don't take that into consideration, and it's just food for thought. I just want people to also think that as well. That's all I wanted to leave it.
These damn
Absolutely.
tree hugging liberals.
All right, guys. Well, listen, I got a bunch
I
of.
want to use oak moss.
Oh, we need to fight for oak moss. Hey, listen, we skated through a couple of these topics. I wanted to just put a camera to it. So you guys on the stream, I would have definitely liked to involve your guys' questions. I tried to answer them in the chat as much as I could. We appreciate everybody for being in the chat and viewing this. I'm going to download this video, chop it a bit, and re-upload it as content. But I just thought we'd go live because you guys don't get to see when we shoot this live. And there's a lot of other questions I want to unpack with this. So this will just be part one. Guys, like, comment, subscribe. More importantly, turn on the notification bell. We appreciate you guys. This is the Frag Effect with my boy Gator and Kicks. And let us know Did anything strike a chord with you, man? I was kicking up all kind of dust and smoke tonight, and these guys handled it pretty well. And we're just trying to put the information out there, think through some things, but at the end of the day, we're going to sleep real well because this doesn't affect anything super serious. So the fact that we can just have fun with it is a good thing. Do you guys have any last minute words for the people?
Trust your nose. Wear what you like. If it smells good to you, go ahead and embrace it, man. I don't care if it costs you $20 or if it costs you $120 or $420. It doesn't matter. I dropped a video today about nostalgic fragrances. There was a couple fragrances in there that cost me like $18, $19, but they will forever keep scent memories locked in my brain, man. So it doesn't matter the cost of the juice. It really matters on how it affects you, and how it moves you, man. So don't be afraid to try something that people might say, oh, that's cheap. They'll look down their nose at you for trying it, man. That might be something that you love. That might be something that you forever keep as like something close to you. Narciso Rodriguez Blue Noir Parfum costs $60. But it is one of my favorite fragrances. I just want, if somebody told me I had to get rid of my collection, that's one that I'd probably keep. You know what I'm saying? And that's $60, not the $400 fragrance sitting over there. So, just saying.
My last words: the juice is the juice is the juice.
Yeah.
Do you like it? Do you not like it? You are the determining factor. If you're wearing juice for the wrong reasons, you're in the wrong hobby. Go take up finger paints with your kindergarten. Go watch reality TV show with your chick if you got one. Hey, you ain't got one? You got Palmella. Hey, I don't know. All I do know is, yeah, and your boy said it. All I do know is that this is to be enjoyed. It doesn't matter the dollar amount. Like what you like, enjoy what you enjoy, stop looking for validations from others, and enjoy this artistry.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Absolutely. And guys, I'll just say, what I've observed is that there's a lot of unnecessary pressures to have opinions about things in this space. And don't fall into the pressure of forcefully qualifying yourself to speak on things that you don't have a lot of information about. Just enjoy yourself, man. If you want to get nerdy, go get nerdy. If you want to have discussion, have discussion. If you want to be simplistic, be simplistic. If there ain't nobody that respects you because you do something different, we respect you. Anybody that likes fragrance, anybody who's into it at any level, any price point, any juice, we're a fan of you, and you'll always have a safe place here. Have an open mind. Even if you find yourself feeling really strongly about the state of FragCom and all that stuff, hold on to those ideas with a loose grip, because you'll never know what opinion or wise words you're going to come across that can challenge how you think and enrich your experience. This is a hobby. It doesn't keep the lights on, doesn't impact your family. So let's just have a good time with this. And I actually appreciate everybody having these discussions, because when they do, you wind up seeing what's actually going on behind all the curtains, and you get to see people for where they are and make your own determinations about whose horse you want to jump on. Pause. But anyways, I appreciate you guys.
We got horses jumping.
We got horses. We got it all, man. Horse and carriage coming out soon. But yeah, guys, hey, we love y'all, man. Thanks so much for your support. We'll continue the conversation at a later date. And until next time, man, we hope y'all stay blessed.